Hello and welcome to another D&D Stories. I'm your host, TheWriter. This is the show where I sit here and regale you with all the tabletop gaming stories and remember when something cool happened. So we return once more to the storyline of Tiberius Tygar and his son Beano. Now, Lad and his friends retired out of the campaign, so I had to wait quite some time for college to reconvene before I could reach my ready reservoir of experienced D&D players or experienced Pathfinder players that I could pick up the storyline and continue on with it. And this is the point in the show where I have to sort of preface something because I came across a trio of players that passed down into legend who only ever played with each other and maybe one other person at the same time, named Ben, and Sally. And I have changed their names to protect the innocent, but Ben and Ben shared the same name. So we had Big Ben, who was a college weightlifter. That's what he loved to do. He just lived to work out. But he had a nerdy side because he knew every episode of Star Trek by heart and he wanted to get into tabletop games. We had Fast Ben, who was a track star. God, you could never catch the guy. Tall, skinny, kind of Big Ben's opposite. And then we had Sally, who was kind of a whore, I guess. She had flavor of the month boyfriends. She was not scared to tell you if she was interested in you sexually. Like if you've ever seen like Girls Gone Wild, such and such Spring Break, and girls turn and they see the camera and they immediately flash you. Oh, that was the kind of girl she was. And there's nothing wrong with being in charge of your own sexuality. Just my God. And no, I never did before you ask in the comments, but Jesus Christ. When the three of them gathered, a lot of sex happens, a lot of perverted stuff, a lot of really strange things happen. So throughout the saga of D&D stories, you will see Ben, and Sally as like black file episodes is what I call them. So you wear headphones, you make sure mom isn't watching over your shoulder or whatever it happens to be. These episodes are not for your little sister because when Ben, and Sally get together, R-rated stuff happens. So I will warn you up ahead of time if this makes you uncomfortable or something. I'm not here to take care of you. Just go to a different video. But their adventures will be scattered across D&D stories because they never really played like a whole full campaign. They would just pop in for like episodic stuff, or if I needed a group to finish out a storyline or stuff like that. Because they like D&D, but I think they like just kind of jacking off around the, well, not really, but messing around the table and making sex jokes and all kinds of different stuff like that. And it took a long time before they were like attentive enough to do like a full campaign, and we'll get into that another day. But for today, I got Ben, and Sally together and said, hey, I just lost a group that just didn't enjoy the story we were doing. They didn't like the aristocracy or the politics that were going on. They just wanted to kill stuff and things like that. And I said, what do you think? This young lord is starting to run his own hotel so that one day he can run an enchanting shop empire. And they go, that sounds kind of interesting. And Sally's like, yeah, sure, fine. So I pull Ben, and Sally, and I'm like, okay, make, like 7th level characters or 9th level characters, somewhere in the mid-game. And we will set you up as staff for the hotel itself, but you can have levels in whatever you want. So we will start this just like narrative-wise. We'll say that, Beano Tygar comes up, he's 18 now. He's about to inherit the title of Lord Tygar from his father because there can only be one Lord Tygar in the family in this setting, whatever. And he's turned 18. He's getting ready to take over this hotel. The house, the the structure and the grounds have been trimmed and new flowers have been planted. Sections of the fence have been redone. The gate's been replaced. They've got, guards posted on each corner. It's a 5-star hotel. They've got to take good care of the place. They've got gardeners and carpenters and masons and people picking out furniture and people matching the carpets. And, there are dozens of people running all over this building. The building itself was repaired, and then Beano came to personalize it as he saw fit. Now, if you remember, the symbol of House Tygar is a bright orange banner with a black paw print on it. So he wasn't going to make the whole place orange. That'd be really tacky. But here and there, you can see like a banner hanging on the wall, or the occasional passing servant might have like a tabard on just to show their loyalty for the first 30 days that they're working there or whatever. So it's all really deep mahogany and burgundy carpets and dark green walls and dark wood everything. They're throwing a ton of money into this place. They're gonna make it nice again. The library was completely restocked. The rock garden outside is now a tame place that's got a running fountain and the little thing you see in anime cartoons that clacks down and pours the water out and then clacks back up. I'm sure those have a name. They're like bamboo clickers or whatever. I don't remember. But the outside is no longer an overgrown nightmare of weeds and vines, and all the statues have been restored to their rightful place, and all the bones have been removed from the root cellar and all the other nastiness that went on there. So by now they've come down to they've picked all the furniture, they're putting the linens in, they're painting the walls. The place still smells new. I mean, that's how new. The paint is still wet. Don't touch the walls. That kind of stuff. And Beano, who is running the place, he's now, a strapping young gentleman with, the golden blonde hair, the golden eyes. Some people don't believe he can see the future. Some do. He's grown tall and lithe, and he has a little ceremonial rapier on his side with designs all up and down it. He probably can't use it very well, but it's kind of like a command sword. And he wanders around in this nice golden outfit, so he's easy to spot amongst the servants. He answers questions, he congratulates people, he's patting painters on the back. He's a very soft-spoken, very kind kind of guy. And when you can see the future and you can kind of understand people on a deeper level, you tend to be soft-spoken so you can listen to what people have to say. And Beano, just lets people work. He trusts them to do their jobs. But he does know that it won't be long before any shady characters start noticing that this 5-star hotel is coming back to life. So he hires out, among the guards, a trio of people that will be undercover, kind of like at Disney World, where they have plainclothes security, so you can't really see who's there to watch the customers, So he hires a... Big Ben decided he wanted to be a fighter. Fast Ben ended up as a rogue, and then I think Sally ended up as a sorceress or something like that. So base classes, and they said, okay, your covers are going to be, staff positions. So what are you going to be? Big Ben decides he's going to be a chef, so he can carry around a meat cleaver and nobody will ask any questions. So he gets a chef's outfit to put over his chainmail. Fast Ben, who is the rogue and is going to have keys to all the doors and know all the ins and outs of the place, decides that he's going to dress up like a butler. So he gets the white gloves and the coat and tails to stand in a corner and nobody will notice him because he's hiding in plain sight. And I go, Sally, what about you? Are you going to be a maid or something? She goes, no, I'll be a charlatan. And I go, I think you mean courtesan, but okay, we'll call you a charlatan. We had to explain the difference there. And I go, you want to work here as a whore? That's what you're saying. And she goes, yeah, it's fine. You can use sex as a weapon whenever you want. And that's the kind of person that Sally was. Like I said, flavor of the month boyfriends. She had probably slept with both Bens at the same time by that point. So she was not above using sex as a weapon in her D&D games. So she sets herself up as a courtesan, not a charlatan. And Beano says, okay, those are the perfect covers, so you guys watch the various wings of the hotel. If something bad happens, you'll be able to, either inform me or take care of it or whatever it happens to be, because, you can hire all the guards you want to, but they have, 15 health and a spear. He needs, like, pathfinders. He needs heroes, adventuring level people, because, high-profile people are going to be coming through here. If the hotel is 60 gold a night, there's going to be a lot of rich and powerful bigwigs that stay in this hotel that might need protecting from people that want to do them harm. So it would be advantageous for them to have some above average muscle just kind of hidden around the hotel. So if you see somebody trying to jump the fence, you'll know it's time to jump in and stop them. So the day comes, and the hotel is opening for a grand opening ball, almost. There are several additions added to the hotel. Like I said, the library was restored, but there was also land around the building. So Beano had a ballroom put in, basically like a big event room. So if a bunch of rooms got rented all at once for a wedding or a meeting of mages or whatever it happened to be, there was a great big room for people like that to meet in. So of course, now that his hotel is done and all the windows are clean and all the banisters are shiny, he's going to invite a whole bunch of people to come in and check it out, and word of mouth will go elsewhere and fill up the rooms. So, and of course, a lot of familiar faces are there. Harmony is there, Lad is there, Farspark, all the guys from Cobalt Mountains, Landon and Michelle and Jason and all the rest are there. Lord Tiberius Tygar is there. And there are various nobilities, various aristocrats, various merchants from all across Absalom are coming. This is a place to see and be seen. So, if this great merchant lord, Beano Tygar, is throwing a great big party, it's only fitting that, so-and-so be there, or that so-and-so be there. And there's a few people almost from every faction in Absalom, the main 10 that I described to you, which of course means that there are a few Cheliacs there. So now the Cheliacs know that Tiberius Tygar has an heir, and he is taking the reins to the business within the next 5 years. So all the better to have tighter security around there and keep things on the down low instead of running out there, hey, I'm Beano, you should be trying to grab at me instead of my dad, that kind of stuff. But Tiberius has been playing nice with Paracountess Zarta for the moment, and the Cheliacs seem content with him instead of his son, but that may change relatively soon, because you can't throw a giant party and not get noticed by the Cheliacs on this scale. So there's people, drinking wine. There's a small corner orchestra. There's great big velvet curtains over all the tall windows. The dance floor shines from a new coat of wax, and there's butlers with glasses on trays wandering about, and there's maids with their boobs practically hanging out the front, running around with trays of cheeses and other finger foods for the lords and ladies to enjoy. There's a great big long table for when they're going to sit down and eat. It's a big party. He's I have restored this hotel. Come check it out and sit and eat and drink with me. And of course, Beano is the last to arrive because he's going to host the party. So of course, when he shows up, he's wearing his golden lord's outfit with black buttons, and he's got his own wine glass, and 3 cheers for young Lord Beano Tygar, and they raise their glasses, and everybody drinks a toast to Beano as he comes in. And Ben, and Sally are scattered throughout the room. Fast Ben is looking like out the windows in case somebody tries to like shot him or something. It's not quite as bad as probably I made it seem, but they're more of a just in case kind of security system going on. And so Sally is splayed out over some lord's lap. She's got her arm like around his neck and is just like playing the decoration while all this is going on. And Fast Ben is, of course, over at the meats table, like slicing off really thin slices of salami and pepperoni and cheeses for the maids to pass out. He's running like this finger food table off to one side. So they can see everything from their various vantage points, just in case something goes wrong. And of course, Beano raises his wine glass and goes, I'd like to thank you all for coming. This new 5-star hotel will be a great benefit to those that are weary from traveling the road but don't want to go into Absalom on their first night here, or are just looking for a safe haven, a place to be. And he raises his glass again and he goes, I'm not used to giving speeches, I'm sorry. We raise up our glasses against evil forces, whiskey for my men, beer for my horses. And there's like scattered laughter. It's like, and by the power invested in me, I now pronounce us ready to eat. So they congregate around this big long table. And, Beano and Tiberius are at the head of the table. And they raise toasts and they eat food and they do all this other stuff. And I go, Fast Ben, you're studying the outside fences from the window where you are, and you notice that there's a pair of shadowy figures trying to climb the fence. And Fast Ben's like, oh, there's people. So I signal Big Ben. Big Ben's like, I take my meat cleaver with me and just kind of sidled away. And Sally gets up off this guy's lap, and they just kind of excuse themselves out of different doors, but then they quickly congregate and kind of pull their costumes off. And they go, okay, so they probably figured, tonight's this big fancy ball, so nobody's going to be watching like the safe or anything. We're going to go to Beano's office and head these guys off at the pass. And I go, okay, you head down to the owner's office, now marked for Lord Beano Tygar. And sure enough, as soon as you kind of pile into the room and put the lamps out, you see a crowbar go up on the outside of the window and somebody pries it open, oh so gently, but just enough that the wood whines as the locks kind of splinter in place. Wow, he needs better windows. Shut up. So as soon as the first guy climbs in, they freaking grab him and haul him in, and Sally jumps out the window onto the next guy. She's like, burning hands, and grabs his face. While Big Ben and Fast Ben just kind of beat the hell out of the other robber with their bare fists. It's like, these guys came with thieves' tools, and they've got like little knives on them, so they just beat both of these guys to a pulp. And set them down. I was like, who the hell do these guys think they were? And just as Sally is finishing off the second guy, she glances to one side and sees a black robed figure going down into the cellar entrance at the back of the hotel. And she goes, somebody else is here. Come on, get out the window. Yep. He's like, pull your swords, let's go. So they see this guy who's got a big sack on his back, pulling his cloak tight around himself. The moon is hidden behind all of these overcast gray clouds, going down into the cellar, and they kind of lean around and look down into the cellar. He's already gone into the darkness, and they're like, okay, Sally, can you give us a light? And she of course picks up like I think she had like a scroll of dancing lights or something like that, and she sends them down into the cellar, and they charge after this guy, just like no stealth of any sort, even though they have a rogue with them. So all three of them charge down there. And they find that this black robed guy who is shaven bald and he's got tattoos all over his face is unloading bones into the cellar and has arranged them in such a way that it looks like a long bone snake. And it's got a great big skull at the other end, and he's holding a poison sac when he sees them coming, and he shoves it up into the skull. It's another necrophidius. And so he doesn't have time to animate it because that takes time and concentration, because the three of these people just bowl him over entirely. This guy they capture and they keep alive. They're like, who sent you? Boom. I'll never talk. Boom. Who sent you? Boom. They keep punching him in the face until he is just a bloody pulp. They're like, all right, we'll stuff him in a room and tie him up and let Lord Beano decide what we're going to do with him later. It's like, if there's people coming in all at the same time, there might be other people on the grounds. Come on, let's go. So they drag the necromancer, up the stairs, like through a servant's hallway, and they stuff him in a broom closet, like all tied up and stuff, bound and gagged. And they leave the bones all over the place, so some poor maid is going to come down there and wonder what the hell's going on. And they quickly run down the hallway. Like it's almost like tower defense. There's just people coming from all sides. And they're like, well, there's a ball going on, so clearly the ball wasn't the target, or they would have just jumped in through all the windows like a fucking SWAT team. So they were going to rob the safe, leave a necrophidius in the basement. What other side targets could there be? And they go, well, what about the gardens outside? They could lay traps or do whatever they're doing. Like, what are they doing? Are they trying to ruin the hotel itself? Are they trying to kill Lord Beano or ruin him financially? It's kind of unclear because all these people are arriving at the same time. And sure enough, as they come around through the gardens, they find 4 more people, again, all cloaked in black, sporting knives and crossbows. And they go, oh my God, where are all the other guards? And they glance over into one of the corners, and there's a guard like slumped up against the corner. So he must have got like long shotted before they decided to come in, and like, all right, let's throw down. They pull out their swords and they run to do combat with these guys. And they pull their cloaks about themselves, and they are displaced. They're wearing displacer cloaks. And if you remember what those were like for Michelle, she would disappear half the time when somebody hit them. So this long, freaking, arduous battle of them like trying to hit these people that keep vanishing into another dimension for a few seconds plays out. But in all eventuality, Sally conjures up the big fireball and is like, you can't dodge fireball! And it throws... and fireballs explode into, the radius of 30 feet or whatever it happens to be. So no, they can't dodge at all. And after, death by 1,000 cuts plus a fireball, they manage to take out all 4 of these guys. And of course, they ruffle through their stuff. They steal their cloaks straight away because, 4 cloaks of displacement, yes please. So they pull the cloaks about themselves and they steal their crossbows and their daggers. But these guys are roasted, so there's not a lot left. And they take their money and they look for any identification, any papers that say who their bosses are, but they're not wearing like a thing that says we're from the Cheliacs or we're from the necromantic cult of blah blah blah. They didn't carry any identifying features with them. But they found potions, they found money, they took their cloaks right away because that's pretty damn cool to just pick up off some guys. And they look around for a bit, like that was what, 2, 6, 7 people plus a necrophidius. Is like they're trying to assault the entire hotel. And Sally kind of looks over and goes, what if there's already somebody inside? And they go, what do you mean? It's like, well, they went for the safe, that's financial. They went for the root cellar with the necrophidius, so that's to kill staff, I guess, because Beano's not going to go down there. That would be any maid, any chef that goes down there for supplies. They would get killed by the necrophidius. These 4 rogue guys, they clearly were taking out all the guards, so they've they're attacking like every facet of this place. What's left but the patrons themselves, go into a room and ruin it, or dump acid on the floor, or freaking come out of your room at 2 a.m. and go room by room cutting throats. And the opening night that this hotel is open, 10 people get murdered or whatever it happens to be. This place would close down forever. And Ben look at each other like, she's right. Somebody either, at the ball or already staying in the hotel rooms, there's more than likely like a mole somewhere. And so they go back to the ball. They quickly like try to scrub some of the blood off and like wash Sally's hands because she's covered with sulfur and soot. And they pull their stuff back on to be the chef, the butler, and the charlatan, the courtesan again. And they filter back into the ballroom. And they find that, people are already going out onto the dance floor. The orchestra is playing with gusto. There's clumps of people here and there talking and chatting and laughing. There are games of chance being played. It's like, okay, Beano is the only one wearing yellow, or gold or whatever have you. So they kind of sidle over to Beano and they're like, my lord, there's been some trouble outside. And they kind of lean and they whisper and they go, okay. And Beano goes, excuse me, friends, I'll be right back. And they take Beano to the closet where the necromancer is, and they go, bring him to my office real quick. So this interrogation scene unfolds in Beano's office. They put him in a chair. He's bound, so he can't wave his hands and cast any magic. And Beano says, guard the door, make sure there's nobody coming in through the window. And Beano kind of like pushes his bangs back out of his eyes, and his eyes are gold. So he's special snowflake. He goes, I'm going to look into this man's future and find out when he tells us who he works for. And Beano kind of leans at him, and his eyes grow wider and wider, and his golden eyes glow as he peers into the future to see how long it will take to get this guy to crack and tell him who sent him exactly. And Beano says, I see, of course. And he goes to his desk and he writes down a bunch of stuff on a slip of paper, and he passes it to Sally, and he says, I want you to read this to yourself and to Ben, and I want you guys to make him say these words without reading it to him. And when he does, we'll be able to act from then on. And they don't understand. He goes, I can see the future. If you interrogate him until he confesses, I can foresee that. But if I look into his future and then you don't interrogate him anyway, then he wouldn't say anything and I wouldn't be able to see that future. So either way, this guy's going to get tortured for information. It's like Beano is holding no qualms. A necromancer tried to set loose a bone snake in his basement. On the first day of him being in charge, there's no mercy to be had here, apparently. You mess with a tiger, you get the fangs. So he's like, however long it takes to get him to confess, I must take action elsewhere. Excuse me. And so Beano quickly leaves, probably to tell his father and to tell the guards around the perimeter, the ones that are left, what is going on, leaving our heroes with the tied-up necromancer. So, of course, Sally opens the paper, and it says, I was working for the Cheliacs, because, of course, right? They shut down this hotel once, and they're probably not really thrilled that Tiberius fibbed that he was the one in charge of this enchanting shop empire, so Beano was their target, and his hotel was bound to be ripped to the ground again by all these different means. But they have to make him say it so that Beano could foresee it and not cause a time paradox. So Big Ben, of course, immediately goes up, who sent you? Who are you working for? Whoosh. Oh, I'll never tell. Whoosh. Oh, I'll never tell. Whoosh, whoosh. And this goes on for a while. And then, Fast Ben comes up, and he's got, they have no problems torturing this guy. Like, some D&D groups have problems with the prisoner dilemma. Oh, not these three. Beano's like, get this information out of them, and they're like, okay. So Fastbin pulls like one of his daggers and like, I'm gonna start ripping off fingernails. And like, oh, I'll never tell. Nothing you could do to me would be nearly as bad as what they were doing. And so he pops a fingernail off. Ah! And like, Sally, can you soundproof the door? So they grab like curtains and they shove curtains under the door, and they muffle the screams of their tortured victim while they're there in Beano's office. And they do get some information out of him after a few hours, with Sally like using burning hands. She's like, I'm going to use burning hands just like right along his cheekbones, just little by little, not to really like kill him, just to hurt him really bad. They have no problems torturing this guy. And it's like, okay, I'm going to take his shoes off and like just burn the ends of his toes one by one. And, we're going to make him talk. Give him a Honolulu hot foot. Come on. And in all eventuality, the necromancer breaks. And he says, oh, it was the Cheliax. The Cheliax sent me from the embassy. Please, no more. Ah. And they're like, thank you very much. And then Big Ben just like bonks him on the head with a massive ham-sized fist and knocks him out. Okay, so the time paradox has been closed because they would have gone and told Beano that it was the Cheliax that sent this guy. So they can leave him there, burnt and cut up and knocked out for the moment. And they go and they tell Beano that it's been done. He's like, good. I have looked into the future of the hotel, so I can tell you that there is at least one or two people that should not be here. They have replaced originals with not doppelgangers, but very, very well-disguised imposters. And they go, really, who are they? And they goes, I can't tell you because if I tell you, you won't go find out. And they go, what? You can see the future, just tell us. And I said, it doesn't work like that. I can see the future where if you go and do something, then I can know the outcome. But if I tell you the outcome and you don't go do it, then you never did it in the first place and you won't get the outcome. So whatever I say will be null and void. And they stare at me and I go, it's a time paradox. If he tells you the future will change. And Fastbin goes, this is some Doctor Who bullshit right here is what it is. I was like, it's more like Bill and Ted, but yeah, basically, for every promise that he gives you, you still have to go and fulfill it. Otherwise, he can't foresee it because it won't happen. So all Beano can tell you is that there are two or three imposters among the guests, and you're probably going to find them. And if you do, Beano foresees them, so he can tell you how many there are, but not who they are. Because if he tells you who they are, and then around and around and around in the paradox. So he can give you, there's 3 people. Go find them before the party's over. And they go, oh, God, the party ends at 2 in the morning, 1 in the morning? And I go, yes, it goes well into the night. You've got a few hours. Most of these people are separated by faction. So they're like, okay, well, there's 7 people from this faction. There's 5 people from that faction. There's lords and ladies that showed up in 2s and 3s. The Cheliax sent 3 people, and obviously, the Cheliax, we should go check them first. And, they go over, and of course, Sally sees that all 3 of the Cheliax people that showed up for this party are men. And she goes, don't worry, I got this. So she undoes the front of her blouse just a bit more to show off some cleavage, and she goes to work her feminine wiles, if you will. And the boys wander off in different directions just to see, people are standing, like I said, in clumps, doing games of chance, talking amongst themselves. And Big Ben's like, okay, I'm just gonna listen in on stuff, see if anybody's saying anything interesting, if anybody's intending on staying the night. Because if you remember, there are 30 rooms in the hotel, so if 3 people are staying in one room, that'd be a nice tip-off. if the entire upper floor is being reserved, then at least they could narrow down the names. They could read the ledgers. So Fastbin goes and does that. He goes up to the front counter. He's like, I need to know who is staying in the hotel tonight, the very first night it's open. And I am secret agent under Lord Beano Tygar. I need to know this stuff. And he shows them like this little not police badge, but like an icon that Beano had given them so that people will do as they say on the hotel staff. And the front desk guy's like, yeah, sure, let me see. Okay, and he flips them open. 13 or 14 of the 30 rooms are being held out. And he goes, okay, it's these guys, and so on and so forth. And then they work them down. So it's like, okay, we eliminated all these people as suspects. And they go and they find the guest list, which of course has close to 100 people on it. So it's like we've slashed this list by like 50 people, and they narrow it down and they narrow it down and they narrow it down until they've got this list of suspects that's not 100 people long. And meanwhile, Sally is working her feminine wiles over with the Cheliacs, these three guys. And they go, are you boys staying the night tonight? Why don't I come up with you and make sure your first stay in this hotel is a pleasant one? And I go, Sally, what are you doing? And she goes, that Splat book, the book of erotic fantasy? And I go, that's not a D&D book, but yes, it's... And she goes, well, I pulled a spell from there called Pillow Talk. And I go, Pillow Talk? And she goes, yes, it's just like Circle of Truth, but you have to have sex with them beforehand. And I go, of course, right? Because you're a sorceress. You're not actually a whore. Oh, wait, yes, you are. So, if I recall correctly, which I probably don't, Pillow Talk just means they are more likely or compelled to tell the truth for questions after they've had sex with you. And Sally, of course, pulled from the book of erotic fantasy because she's Sally, and that's what she does. She uses sex as a weapon whenever possible. So the Cheliacs are their top suspects. All three of them are dudes, and she's going to take on all three of them. So after a while, when it's, fashionably late, she goes up arm in arm to their double room. This set of rooms that has 2 beds in it each, but is also connected by a door. And both bins are like, yep, she's going to be doing that. So we're going to narrow it down further. And so while Sally is working her wiles and getting naked with these 3 strangers, because she's playing a whore, Big Ben and Fast Ben narrow down the suspects further, and they lean and they whisper again to Beano, these people that are staying, these are the ones that are staying in groups of 2 and 3. These are the ones that are, these 3 rooms, each with 1 person in them. So they've got like 4 sets of suspects left. And it's like, we could post a guard in the hallway and just like, if anybody's wandering around in their pajamas with a knife, we'll be able to ask questions. And Beano goes, all right, well, you guys watch the hallway while the ball reaches its conclusion. So while Beano is making the final toasts of the night and people are turning in, the ones that are staying, are turning into their hotel rooms, Ben, and Sally are making the preparation, well, Ben and Ben are making preparations to kind of surveillance the main drag, the main hallway, because if somebody comes out, wearing their jammies and they have like an assassination knife and they start jiggling door handles, trying to get into other rooms, they'll know who they're looking at. And they have displacement cloaks. So Fast Ben is going to go crouch in a shadowy corner and fade in and out of existence so he can't be seen, because that's what displacement cloaks do, until they see someone leave their room. Meanwhile, Sally is these guys are taking turns. I'm not even going to sugarcoat it for you, because anytime these 3 pop up, there's a lot of sex that goes on. So Sally ends up getting plowed by each one of these guys. There's such good accommodations here at the the Tygar Hotel as they're railing this woman. And you know, her courtesan outfit is in a pile on the floor, and they practically tore her panties off and threw them out the window. These guys, you know, Cheliax women are strong and powerful, but, you know, sometimes you want something more submissive. So these guys were apparently pretty pent up. And Sally goes, "Do I get any XP for that?" And I go, "Yeah, sure. Roll me a d20 and times it by 10 and then times it by 3. And it's like 15, 13, you know, 9, and then times 10, and then times 3, because you got the 3 different guys." And she's like, "Yes." "Well, that's not fair. She got XP for being laid?" Yes, she did, but that's what her character does, so why not? You know, "Can we go seduce somebody?" I said, "Yeah, but you're supposed to be running surveillance. She's got all 3 of your prime suspects in hand." "She's only got 2 hands." "Shut up." So, while once they are finally exhausted, well past midnight, Sally manages to like mumble through the pillow talk spell to make them tell the truth. And it turns out that yes, the Cheliacs were sending the necromancer and the 4 guys and the 2 robbers all at the same time to undermine the integrity of the hotel itself. So they would be broke. The servants would be getting killed in the basement. You know, the rock garden and anybody coming out in their chariots might be assassinated by those 4 guys. And then the 3 Cheliac soldiers, all men, all huge, all armed, you know, at some obscene hour of the night, they were to sneak out of their room and kill 3 people each. And if they came across Beano, for whatever reason, they were to kill him too. And I go, "Sally, they basically tell you everything once they're done freaking wrecking you." And she goes, "Oh, I knew it. Now I feign slumber for all their masculine efforts." And I was like, "Okay." And I go, "You know, you guys are, you know, Fast Ben is waiting out in the hallway. Big Ben is hidden like behind a suit of armor. Or actually, he might have been inside a suit of armor because there were decorative suit of armors in some of the hallways. Big Ben hid inside a suit of armor. It didn't give him a lot of armor value because it was ornamental, but it was kind of funny. It was like this weird Scooby-Doo moment where whenever somebody would walk by, you know, the helmet would turn and he would lift the visor and look and then put it back down and continue looking forward. And they would whip back around. "Did something move?" "You know, I swear that night that suit of armor was watching me." "Oh, you're just paranoid. You drank too much wine. Come on, let's go to bed." So the boys are waiting out in the hall, and Sally is waiting for them to leave. So while the clock, the grandfather clock in the middle of the hallway, continues to tick and tock on, the ball ends and everybody else leaves. Beano and Tiberius retire for the night, knowing full well what is about to happen. So they have guards and adventurers in place to make sure that this is all stopped rather smoothly. And given that these 3 guys were marked as Cheliacs, you know, they were wearing the scarlet and the black and the big C emblems on themselves. They were there to represent the Cheliacs, and, you know, they've already given a confession. They just have to step out into the hallway and try for it, and then that'll spell big trouble for the Cheliacs. Excuse me. So the grandfather clock tolls 2 in the morning, and the Cheliacs guys, who have had some rest since their rough and tumble with Sally, get up and they put on their trousers and they get like their assassination knives just so they can go out, and they lean and they open the door, and like Sally watches them go, like one eye slitted open from where she lays naked on the bed, and she goes, "Okay." The first guy goes out on his own, and then they wait 30 seconds, and the second guy goes, and then they wait 30 seconds, and Sally's like, "I get up to distract the third guy so he doesn't leave the room. So, you know, I kind of like 2 on 2 out in the hallway, and I'll have this one guy here." And I go, "Okay." he's kind of in the middle of his mission and he's done fucking you. So how are you going to keep him in the room? And she goes, I don't know. I'll go kneel in front of the door like I'm jockeying for a blowjob or something. And he goes, out of my way, woman. I'm busy with mumble something else that's not actually killing people. And she goes, oh, don't worry, it'll be quick. And then she reaches up and like holds his balls with one hand and holds the shaft with the other hand and goes like she's gonna suck him off. And then goes, burning hands, brah, and rips off his man parts. And I was like, ah! And she's like, well, he's, gushing with blood, roll initiative. Oh, I dodged, she dodges the dagger shot and grabs his face with more burning hands and just like takes him down to the ground and just like straddles him while she's like burning his skull and then crushes his head between her hands. I was like, Jesus Christ, woman. And she's like, sexy and done. she's just like, sexy, spicy, fire, and ashes, and Jesus Christ, woman. Yeah. The first guy is down, and the other two are out of earshot. So, Fastbin, of course, sees one of the other guys, like, jiggling doorknobs, and he finds one that's open, and he's about to go into this room when Fastbin, like, just grabs him from behind and just jabs the knife right into his neck. Didn't see him coming. He came out of the shadows. He was displaced. Just doing the rogue sneak attack, and just blood gouges out onto the ground, onto the walls, onto everything else, and he just like slowly takes him to the ground. Big Ben, however, is not so subtle, so he steps down off of the little display platform to like block the hallway for the third guy, while Fastbin comes up behind him. He's like, I've got like a morphine dart, hang on. And he puts it in his little, like, blowgun, just like, and they shoot the guy in the back of the neck. It's like, we can get a confession out of him as Cheliax. And, the guard of Absalom will be very interested to know that the Cheliax was trying to take down this hotel again. So we can bring him in there with a necromancer and dispose of the bodies off to one side. And they go and they wake up Beano, and, this is everything that happened. And it's like, Sally, put some pants on. And I don't want to. Go put some pants on. It's a 5-star hotel. You're a courtesan, not a charlatan. And they have the necromancer, and they have the one of the 3 would-be assassins. They've got the 4 dead guys in the front yard and the 2 dead guys in the backyard. And just, Jesus Christ, there's a lot of bloodshed for one night of this hotel being open. So, of course, they summon all the real maids and the real butlers to clean up all this blood and replace the carpets and stuff. And, tell everybody. Oh, they've got the necromancer. And like I said, they've got the necromancer and one of the would-be assassins, and they tell everybody. All of Absalom knows that the Cheliax tried to attack Lord Beano Tygar's 5-star hotel, and, a lot of political upheaving is about to start happening. And our 3 adventurers just kind of sit back and watch this happen because the Cheliax ball that just happened has basically been undone because nobody wants to be friends with the Cheliax publicly when they have sent out assassins and necromancers and other things like that to take on this poor, rich 18-year-old who's running a hotel outside the city walls. Oh, I can't be friends with you. No, I can't give you money for a road project. I don't want to be associated with the Cheliax. You attack this kid who's just trying to run this hotel on his own before he takes the reins of his own empire. Oh, the whole thing went public, and it was nasty for the Cheliax. So, they've still got the embassy, but they lost a lot of friends. They lost a lot of influence, and the whole thing went public. So, anytime, any sort of Cheliax sets foot outside the embassy, the Absalonian guard knows about it, and they watch them very closely. Paracountess Zarta has to stop has to stop sleeping with Tiberius because she can't really go anywhere. They're basically under house arrest, and they send servants back and forth, but that's about it. They're kind of caged in their own little tiny property for the moment, and for a long, long time to come. So their plans went catastrophically bad once they were caught by Ben, and Sally. So that is kind of where that game ends. Beano and those that he hired dealt a powerful blow to the Cheliacs, and there's probably nothing they're going to be able to do to touch him anytime soon. So he is in the clear, and Tiberius is in the clear, as is all the heroes that were there who were ever involved with Beano. They go back to going their separate ways again. The ball, or the big party there at the hotel, was a complete success, and of course, with everybody talking about the Cheliacs trying to take out this 18-year-old and his fancy hotel, everybody was talking about the fancy hotel, so their bookings went up, 90%, and just, it couldn't have gone better. As a matter of fact, they had to send something a little meaner than that, but they didn't think Beano would give them much of a problem. So, underestimating somebody that young, somebody that powerful, who can look into the future. They learned, of course, that Beano can look into the future just by sheer word of mouth, but it's too little too late. So, Ben, and Sally save the day. Beano has his 5-star hotel that he will be training to lead others at. Tiberius has kind of stepped into the background, so Beano can spread his wings and learn the ins and outs of leading others. Not really into retirement, just like he no longer wants to be in charge. It's time for Beano to take the wheel, as it were. And everything pretty much turned out for the much, much better. So that is where we will leave off for today, and I hope you like that story. Ben, and Sally will return later on down the line. Like I said, it took me a long time to get them to be able to do a whole campaign of one game after another, but this was just like a one-shot for them, but it was the end of a storyline for me, so whichever perspective you like better. But yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that story, and I will see you guys on the next D&D Stories. Keep gaming. Hey guys, thanks for watching. I really love telling D&D stories, and I also really love eating food. So if you'd like to toss a couple of gold pieces into this humble bard's hat, be sure to check out my Patreon. If you enjoyed this story, be sure to hit the like button as well. And if you'd like access to maps, character art, and channel updates too, check out the D&D Stories Facebook. Keep gaming!